details to participate, but if you'd like to contribute, please raise your hand and we'll help you form the request into a motion. You have a right to participate as a full member in our meetings. If you need us to slow down or explain what's going on, please raise your hand and ask, and we're happy to do so. And if you're a parliamentary rock star, please use your powers for good and consider the impact that making a complicated motion will have on the meeting, because we are trying to stay on time. So some of the most common Robert's rules to know is point of order. That's when used when we aren't following the rules. And just name what's the rule that's being broken, and we'll move from there. Point of information is used when you need to ask a question relevant to the topic we're discussing, and point of privilege is used if you need to make adjustments so that you can participate. Like if you can't hear somebody, or if you can't access something, or if you need more time to finish your vote.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Let me unmute myself. You'd think I'd learn after all this time. If you have not already, please go into the chat and sign in that you are here so that we know that we have quorum. Just threw it in the chat one more time. I think Liam did too. So that first link that says forms, go in there, throw in your voting code and sign in. I'm going to check with Liam real quick to see if we have quorum.
We do.
Perfect. Okay. So first order of business is to approve the agenda for the evening. I'm going to throw the agenda for the evening into the chat for anyone who'd like to follow along. I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Thank you, Justin. Would anyone second?
A second.
Thank you, Marco.
Any order?
Yes, Curtis.
Does everyone have access to this? Because it's not showing me access.
Let me double check. It should be set so that anyone with the link can access. Oh, no, this one is different. Anyone with the link can view. There we go. Thank you, Curtis. There we go. Okay, everyone try that new link out. Hopefully that fixed it. Thank you all. We did a G Drive migration, and I think some of our permissions got shifted. So apologies as we make sure all the new things work. On the upside, we now have all of our documents in one space instead of 3 different spaces. So that will make life easier for those of us on the board.
A new one does work.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Any opposed to approving the agenda through unanimous consent? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. The agenda for the meeting is approved. Next up, we need to approve our minutes. I'm double checking the permissions of this one. Okay, this one looks good. So I'm going to throw our minutes from our last meeting into the chat. This is from our January meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve our minutes from the January meeting by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Justin. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, with that, our minutes from the last meeting are approved. So jumping right off into chair report, I'm going to go a little quick because we have a guest speaker, but I did want to start by just asking for a moment of silence for the death of the pedestrian on the Pike Street that happened earlier this week. So if people haven't heard about this, yeah, a pedestrian was hit in the crosswalk. So just want to ask for a brief moment of silence. Thank you all. Okay, most of my chair report is just updates about events that are coming up. You hopefully got an email and know that our monthly social for the 43rd is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be at Revolver on Capitol Hill. We've got a whole slate of different socials that are coming down the pike. Our March one is going to be a board game night. Our April one is going to, I don't remember what the April one is now. See, I shouldn't have said I knew I shouldn't have started listing them if I didn't know them all. But we've got a bunch of them coming down. So if anyone would like to join us, this is just a pop-in event. You can come in whenever you'd like and leave early if you'd like to. It's going to start at 6. I think people will be hanging out there past 8 o'clock. So a great opportunity to meet people in person. And then, as I said, March is going to be a board game meetup. So we're going to be trying a bunch of different types of events this year to create different opportunities for people to engage with each other. This coming Saturday is the 43rd LD Town Hall. Senator Peterson, Representative Macri, and Representative Scott are going to be there. It's at Cary Hall on Capitol Hill from 1 to 2:30 p.m. If you get the weekly emails, you should see this in that weekly email there. Also, the Capitol Hill Community Council is going to be hosting a social kind of opportunity to meet and mingle with people afterwards. And so I'm going to send that. You'll get an email tomorrow morning with both a reminder of this town hall's location and date, as well as the information if people would like to go and engage with another local group that's getting people and community together. We have a Protect the Public Town Hall that's going to be the following weekend. So we've got some busy weekend plans for the 43rd. You might remember that we passed a resolution around a variety of different ordinances that we are aiming for to help protect the public from when ICE comes to our city. We have been working with the people who brought that resolution forward. And so we've been having some meetings with different council members and their staffs. As well as excitedly watching some of the things that the mayor's office and the council and the port commissioner and others around and the county executive have been moving forward to try to create some protections. So we're going to be bringing a variety of those people together to get updates from all of them and create an opportunity for you to ask some questions about what they're up to and what they're planning. That's going to be on March 1st from 2 to 3:30. Down at Folio in Belltown. Actually, I believe it's actually 1:30 to 3:30. It's 1:30 to 3:30. So we'll have some community groups tabling for the first half hour. There will be some speakers and a Q&A, and then there'll be some tabling on the back end. Finally, just a reminder that our March and April general meetings are moving to the second Tuesday as opposed to the third Tuesday for those 2 months. We are experimenting with shifting it 1 week forward because it allows us to use a free community space to host these meetings in a hybrid format. So the March meeting is going to be on March 10th, and the April meeting is going to be on April 14th. And we will be doing both of these in a hybrid format. They're going to be in the Kathy Hillenbrand community room, which you might know as the community room that's right by the Capitol Hill light rail station if you're walking down Denny. So it's a great central space, really easy to get to from light rail and various bus lines. We're going to experiment with it for 2 months and see how it works. And then we will, unsurprisingly, send you all a survey out to see how it's working and if we want to continue using that space, if it's going to work for everyone. Okay. And finally, we are looking for on the board. We're really excited to welcome in Hannah as our new communications committee director, and we're still looking for anyone who might be interested in joining us as one of our King County committee alternates. So this would be a easy way to dip your toe into joining the executive committee. You are the alternate for if one of our King County reps can't show up to their monthly meetings, and it lets you flex and try out assisting with other committees as well. If you're interested, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to have a conversation and chat about it with you. And then for my last piece, I'm going to hand it over to Amy. Amy, if you can raise your hand, we can spotlight you. Did Amy make it on here yet?
She said she has computer issues and she will move the memorial later.
Okay, so we will come back to Amy on the back end. So look at that, almost spot on time. I love it. With that, we are so very, very excited to welcome Council President Joy Hollingsworth to our meeting tonight. Let's put you on the spotlight. Excellent. So we're going to pass it over for a little bit of a preview of what's going to be coming in the session, and then hopefully we'll have a little bit of a time for Q&A. So if you are thinking of questions and things like that, you can feel free to use the raise hand function. But with that, thanks again for joining us, Councilmember Hollingsworth, and pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and hi 43rd. Super happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I will be quick so I can answer questions, but just wanted to run down some things that are coming at council, just so you all are aware of kind of like the process and what we have coming in the next couple weeks, and then also what the plan is moving forward for the rest of the year. So the first piece, we have the Families Education Promise implementation plan, and that's going to come to the libraries. Sorry, my mom always tells me, don't say library, it's libraries, education, and neighborhoods committee. And that's going to be important because you all, thank goodness, you passed the FEP levy last year, and now it's the implementation plan this year. And so that's going to be important as we're figuring out ways to keep kids healthy, safe, and to make sure that we have the positive outcomes in our school district. And so that's going to be starting sometime next month in March when that committee is going to get up and started. We also have the comprehensive plan phase 2. Last year we passed comprehensive plan phase 1. Phase 2 is coming. Councilmember Link will run that. We've officially passed the baton to him. We know that there were some cleanup stuff that we have to do from phase 1 that we'll have to do in phase 2. And there's also people that want to see just different things in phase 2. And that legislation has been transmitted down to council. And so now we're figuring out, it's the puzzle game, the dates for the select committee for the comprehensive plan. And phase 2 is going to deal with the heights of the regional centers, the urban centers, the neighborhood centers, so how tall things can go. Last year, we passed the boundaries of things, of neighborhood centers, of the urban centers, of the regional centers. So this year, it's about the height of things, which is going to be important, and also some cleanup stuff from phase 1 as well. We also have the library levy that's going to be coming as well. So we are going to have a library levy, and that's going to be heavily, our libraries need a lot of infrastructure improvements. Some of them need some air conditioning, some need some different type of build outs, additional restrooms. There's a whole bunch of capital needs for our libraries. And so that levy will come to council. I'm thinking that it will get from the mayor's office starting in Q2. We'll see it. And then we'll start figuring out standing up a committee for that as well. But we should see that in Q2 of this year. We also have the Seattle Transportation Measure levy. So ours runs out next year in 2027. And I know that there was a push for the county to do a King County transit measure where the city wouldn't have to do one. I don't think that is the case. I don't think I've gotten the official word on that, but we will have to stand up a select committee for the Seattle Transit Measure that will come to council. That will be a select committee. That will also be Q2 of this year. We have a lot of select committees coming up as a full body that we'll have to do. So that will come in Q2 as well. And we are still navigating those dates and looking forward to doing that. The other thing that we have is we have our federal committee. So our federal committee is something that Councilmember Rink stood up to talk about a lot of the changes, always fast-paced changes that are coming down from the federal government and how they impact Seattle, whether that's funding, whether that is different type of legislation. Sometimes it's rhetoric, right? And it's certain reaction that happens in communities and protecting communities. And so it's good to have a select committee for the federal government that follows and tracks that and also the impact. Those meetings are only once a quarter. And I believe the first one is sometime in March. And I'll be able to, after this presentation, I'll be able to put all this in an email and send it to you, Mr. Chair, if that's okay, just so you could pass it out, just so you all have the bullet points that I'm talking about and some of the dates as well for things that are coming down the pipeline. The other thing I wanted to highlight before we jump into questions too are some of the bills that are coming before council. So a lot of obviously we've been getting a lot of feedback about protecting our community against the federal government for immigrant enforcement, and that we've seen, you know, around the country that has been very disturbing. And we have a bill that's coming to council. I decided as council president to bypass the committee. This is emergency legislation that was brought by Councilmember Rink that puts a moratorium for a year on detention centers and jails within the city of Seattle boundary, and send it to full council. So what happens is legislation comes down. Usually you can take it and put it to a committee. This would probably get referred to either a public safety committee or land use committee. We bypass that, and it's going to get sent directly to full council. So that means that instead of hearing at a committee, we're going to send it to full council. It's going to need 3/4 votes to be able to, or excuse me, 3/4, 2/3 votes to be able to pass from council. And so that is going to be slated. We would have to refer to the referral calendar for the 24th of February, where it will come to a full vote. It will either be the 24th or it will be March 4th. And that's because there might be some amendments and we're going to have to work out that as council members, but it's going to be one of the two, the 24th or March 4th. So it skips full council, goes directly to, or excuse me, skips committee. That means that committee can take a couple weeks. It can slow stuff down directly to full council. So have been very transparent about that with council members, that if it's emergency legislation, if, you know, we're all on board as council members to make sure that we are protecting our community, you know, and we see that there's a pathway to full council. As council president, I will do it and send it directly there, just so we can kind of, you know, speed up the process and make sure that we are acting accordingly. And so I will stop there because I'm sure people have questions and you don't want to hear me just talk to you off my notes on my screen while I'm in the office. Okay. So anyways, yeah, looking forward to answering the questions too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Hollingsworth. And also, I just want to send a thank you to both you, to the other council members, and in particular to all of your staff who we've been having some meetings with across all the different council staff. I know that they have been working tirelessly to research what we can do on a local level, and that all of the jurisdiction issues that come up as you're trying to figure out ways to protect our residents from federal overreach. So please send the 43rd love to all of the staff members who are doing a lot of that work to move it forward. And thank you for taking this seriously and creating those systems to move it forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I appreciate that. And oftentimes, and you know, we got to do a better job, I know, probably as a council, and I got to do a better job of articulating oftentimes what we can and can't do, because the reality is like, once, let's say we get sent a resolution or we get sent, hey, can you all do this? We run it through the city attorney's office. We see if we can enforce it. If they say yes or no, we're always getting law information. I think I just froze there. Okay. We're always getting, it froze on my end. And we're always getting information back. And we always want to make sure that when we are passing something that we can enforce it too as well. And so this was one that, you know, can get enforced, and we're sending it straight to full council. There's also a staging bill that's coming, we're deferring it directly to Public Safety Committee and Councilmember Kettle's committee as well. So there are some stuff that you're going to see in the next couple weeks that's going to get passed from council that is going to have some layers of protection. Can we do more? Absolutely, yes. We want feedback from you all. What are we missing to be able to do more? But we're moving stuff along. So thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff, your hand is up, and then I've got some questions in the chat.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, Council President Hollingsworth. I have a very kind of like technical question, so I wrote it out. If it's it's about the budget. If you don't have the answers tonight, that's completely fine. Feel free to get back to me offline. It's going to take a second. I'm going to read through it. So my question relates to two budget provisos that were passed in the most recent council budget. First, the budget proviso that was passed to lock the funds for the Unified Care Team, known to many as the Sweep Crew. I believe you abstained in that vote. Second is the proviso for funds moved from a pot of funds that were for shelter expansion to set them aside to backfill continuum of care funds. I believe that's what happened. Which are, for those who don't know, federal funds that go to providing very important housing for high needs folks. My question to you is, given Trump's HUD is threatening to dismantle our shelter and housing system by potentially taking away $65 million of very, very important housing. So thank you all for taking that seriously and putting those funds in reserve. But my question is, do you think it's a good idea to continue to fund the sweep team to the tune of $30 million a year while also pulling millions of dollars away from needed shelter expansion? Would you consider voting to lift the proviso on the Unified Care Team to free up some of those funds to expand much needed shelter, especially for higher need folks who aren't well served by our current shelter system for a variety of different reasons that I'm sure you're aware of? So yeah, kind of a complicated question, but that's my thoughts. Thank you so much.
No, you're fine. Thank you, Jeff. So your question is, would I consider voting to lift a proviso, which would have to be in our supplemental budget action item in June, July? Would I consider voting on that? Yeah, if I saw a plan where from our mayor's office or Unified Care Team that could make those funds more impactful, absolutely. But I want to see a plan that we'd be able to implement for those funds to be spent, to have a better impact than what we're doing right now.
I've got a question from Beth regarding the FEP levy. She said, I received a question at my kids' PTA if there may be a funding gap, and also used they also used the language levy cliff. Will the program a continuation of what has existed, or will there be shifts in funding loss to certain programs? So I think the main question is the FEP levy going to maintain the funding level for current programs, and how might it interact with the levy cliffs, which is the cap on the amount that we can have for levies?
Yeah, great question. So we've been getting this a lot from folks, and we've passed this to Director Chappelle, which obviously we don't want any cliffs that are going to happen. And I know they're trying to work something out. I don't have the answer right now. If they send, and I can put my email in the chat, if they can send me an email, I can connect them with Deal and Director Chappelle's department so they can walk them through hey, what they're working on to make sure that this doesn't happen. And if there's a council action that needs to happen in our select committee, I know that that's something that people are interested in taking, but I don't have that answer right now.
Thank you. And then this might be our last question for the evening. Passing it to you, Ryan. Great name.
Thanks, Ryan. Hi, council member. In 2023, you stated on the campaign trail that you'd oppose a Seattle Police Officer Guild contract that didn't grant subpoena power to the OPA and the OIG, and that didn't remove limits on civilians investigators. Given that the new contract you voted for achieves neither of those goals, can you explain what changed between your campaign promise and your vote?
Yeah, this feels like a what do you call it? Like a was it when you're doing a debate or whatnot? So the question was, in my campaign promise, I said, hey, subpoena power and some other things. So the subpoena power, and what was the second one, Ryan?
You wouldn't remove limits on civilian investigators?
Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't vote on a police contract.
Yeah, you said you would vote against a contract that didn't do those things.
Yeah, and the variable for me on that was how much we spend as a city for overtime and how much money that we would have had to spend if we did not have a contract. I don't sit on the Labor Relations Committee. I do now as council president, which is great. So you either can vote yes or no on. You can either vote yes or no on the contract. That's something that, as I analyzed the entire contract, I saw how much we were paying in overtime. Some of the things that were negotiated for the care team that I had to make a decision that I thought was best, not as a campaign, things that I knew as a candidate, but now I know as a council member, and things that I know that within our budget, in our system, how the care team, like things that we were gaining in that, where I had to make the best decision, I thought, at the time. But now sitting on the Labor's Relation Committee, I have a better opportunity to bargain different things and advocate for some of the things that people have said that they want to see in a police contract.
Well, thank you so much, Council President Hollingsworth, for coming and joining us, for giving us that preview, and for answering questions. Feel free to pass along the information that you shared, and I'll include it in our weekly email out so that even our members who weren't able to attend know what's coming up on the council docket. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us.
No worries. Thank you. And thank you, Ryan, for the question as well. And Paul, I think it was Paul. And thank you, Chair. And thank you, 43rds, for the question. I put my email in the chat, and more than happy to answer more questions from folks as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Timothy, did you have another question? I'm sorry if we ran out of time for it.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask briefly. Like 2 weeks ago on Seattle Nice, they interviewed Amy Barden, chief of the care team, and she mentioned that police contract does not allow folks to attend without SPD first allowing them if it's through 911. But Amy Barden gave the using there's like two other main methods, 988, and I had a question about using those methods instead, because that seemed like a really good idea. That's all.
Yeah, thanks for go for it, Councilmember.
Oh, thank you, Timothy. I'm not sure I follow the question is, should people use 988 or 911?
Well, yeah, just to clarify, Chief Amy Barden for the care team mentioned that she's looking at options of allowing the care team to respond via 998, or the one that's not 911. And then there was one other example, and it seemed like a pretty good idea given the present contract. My understanding is that SPD, it's filtered through 911, and SPD makes a decision whether or not.
That is correct. Yeah, and some precincts are different than the others. So like, and it's really up to discretion oftentimes for like the captain too as well. You have the captain at East Precinct who's like saying, hey, we want care team to go to certain calls, and it just really is very discretionary. I think with the 988 number, and I'd have to follow up with her, they might have more discretion, the 911 dispatch callers and the care team, to figure out like, okay, if this is a non-emergency police call, this is a mental health crisis, we can send our people. I can get more information about that, but I see where she was going regarding the difference between 911 and 988.
And just intuitively, that makes sense kind of to me. I think the big thing is like responding to a violent, like that's a concern about violence. And if it's 998 to me, or 988, it's less urgent, but it could still be a pretty useful thing. So that seemed like a nice fit given the context we have presently.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sticking around for that extra question. And thank you, Timothy, for raising that. Yeah, figuring out how we can get the care team to be able to respond to as many calls as possible is definitely something that that we want to be continuing to explore and push for. And we know that things like the Police Officers Guild contract have been a barrier to setting what kinds of responses the care team is able to go to, and that has been a challenge for them to really show what they're able to do in some different jurisdictions. Okay, with that, we're going to transition over to endorsement rules and then hearing from some candidates. It's already election season kicking off for a couple of different races. So before we can start introducing, have candidates come and start introducing themselves, we need to pass our endorsement rules for the year. So I've thrown the endorsement rules in the chat. And I want to highlight, these are very, very similar to the endorsement rules from last year. So if you've been a member of the 43rd for a bit, these should look very similar. The only two changes that we made from last year that are really of note, number one is we have adjusted at the very, very end of it where it says speaking before an endorsement meeting to allow for candidates. In the past, it was just they would come, they would speak for 2 minutes, and then they would have to leave. And that was all that was allowed before an endorsement meeting. Last year, we experimented with giving them a little bit of Q&A time, and people shared that they appreciated that, right? Getting to know the candidates, getting to ask a question or two. So we have clarified that when candidates come to introduce themselves before an endorsement meeting, so in the meetings of March, this meeting, March, April, that they are allowed 2 minutes to introduce themselves and 3 minutes for taking questions. And then the other thing that we clarified is that if someone is going to speak on behalf of a candidate, that candidate has to indicate to a member of the board that they would like that person to speak on their behalf. We had a question come up around an endorsement in the past where someone wanted to speak on behalf of a candidate, but they had not been appointed by that person, and our rules were not super clear on that. And so the executive board talked it over, and we don't want someone representing a candidate without their express permission. And so we have clarified that so that if a candidate can't make it, they can still send a proxy. They just need to let us know who that proxy is going to be, and then that person can speak on their behalf, just so that someone's not stepping in and speaking on someone's behalf without their knowledge. So those are the only two major revisions we had. Did anyone have, hopefully people got to look at it a little bit ahead of time, but want to check real quick if anyone has any questions on these endorsement rules before we go into voting on them. Okay, seeing no questions, and since these are very similar to last year, I would entertain a motion that we approve our endorsement rules for 2026 through unanimous consent.
So moved.
Thank you, Jacob. Would anyone like to second?
Second.
Second, okay. Ryan, or Ryan can second. Okay, any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, with that, we pass our endorsement rules for this coming year. Thank you all. Which means we can now introduce some candidates who would like to come and we can try out our new mechanism. So let me real quick get the timer up and running because I need to remember how to do that all now. And as a reminder, our candidates will get 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we'll take 3 minutes for questions. For the 3 minutes for questions, we'll do what we just did before, raise our hands, or you can throw them into the chat. Our first candidate to introduce themselves is going to be Port Commissioner Toshiko Hasegawa, who is running for King County Council District 2. I see them right there. Let me spotlight them. Cool. And then let me get my little timer. Oh, I want to be a collaboration. Where's my timer app? Oh, nope. Everything got moved on me. Getting this timer app up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put a 2-minute timer up that hopefully everyone will be able to see. Oh. And when you are ready, pass it over to you. Oh, there.
I just point of
there we
order.
Go.
I can't see the timer.
Ooh, okay. It should show up in the top right corner.
I see it. Okay. Technology.
We'll give you an extra 5 seconds because it started.
Okay.
So
well, good evening to the good members of the 43rd Legislative District Democrats. My name is Toshiko Grace Hasegawa. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm your Port of Seattle Commissioner. I am a 4th-generation South Seattleite, and I appear before you today for the first time as a candidate for King County Council District 2. And, my family's story begins with my great-grandfather who immigrated to the Central District for opportunity when he was forcibly removed from his home and put into American concentration camps in World War II. And my grandfather and grandmother moved to Beacon Hill. They fought for civil rights. My father was in the labor movement, and I realized the fight of our generation is literally fighting against fascism. And today I'm raising my 2 children in Beacon Hill, and the affordability crisis is getting worse. It's unsustainable, all while we're fighting against the encroaching overreach of the federal government. Local government, I have always said, is where we can and should be leading on our progressive values. Is where we are leading. And in 4 years, we have turned the Port Commission into a powerhouse for progressive policy. I'm ready to bring that energy and my vision to the King County Council to bring answers on affordability, to address the childcare and housing crises, to promote public trust in policing operations, And I cut my teeth in public service at King County through working on reforms to our criminal legal system. I have a specialization in police accountability, and I'm proud of the community-based, comprehensive policy platform this campaign has built, which you can see at votetoshko.com. So in just 3 weeks since launching, our campaign's built the biggest progressive coalition of elected and community leaders, including Councilmember Mercedes Rink, Erica Evans, Dan Strauss, and 9 labor endorsements. So I'm going to leave contact information so that we can connect directly, but I look forward to seeing you all at tomorrow's social, as well as at the March 1st event.
I love that that's the sound. Thank you so much. Perfect timing. Okay, with that, we're gonna hand it, I'm gonna put another, this time a 3-minute timer up, and we're gonna open it up to questions. So anyone who has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or throw them into the chat. And if, wait, oh, perfect, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi. Just a quick question. It sounds like housing is already like so important to you, so it's like exciting to hear you talking about it. It's so important to me just because I mean it's important to all of us. Like, you know, housing is the like largest like budget item for like everybody, and so figuring out this affordability crisis connected to the housing crisis is so key. So I'm just curious, like, what are the things you're thinking that you'd like to try to do and push on the county council in regards to housing and connectedly to affordability?
Thank you so much for asking that. That's a 10-minute answer in 2 minutes. The first thing I'm going to do is refer you to votetoshko.com, where you can see my proposal comprehensively. It's called A New Deal for District 2. But I think of housing as a spectrum, right? And it goes everywhere from anti-displacement to needing emergency shelter to needing affordable housing, missing middle housing. And then the funding mechanism, which is, I think, part of a big piece of the conversation as well. If I, I have a mind for transit-oriented development, and District 2 is exactly the type of place where we can and should be building housing. And I think that this is a crucial opportunity for developers as well. If we can identify a place where we know we're going to put people, then that's also, that first floor could be a place where we site childcare. It could be a place where we site grocery stores or access to fresh food that can answer to some of the food and nutrition instability that people are facing. And I think that for the first time also well, anyways, I know we're coming to time, but I did want to mention in terms of the funding mechanism, we need a levy. We really do. It is woeful how much King County actually dedicates towards the housing crisis. And when you find out what that number is, it actually hurts your feelings. And so we do need a dedicated funding source for that as well.
Thank you.
Sean,
And Curtis,
I have other ideas on that too. Seeing you in the chat.
And Curtis, we'll let you get one more question in.
Hi, Port Commissioner. Thanks for coming. I'm interested to hear what plans you would have to get support for a King County transportation levy.
That is an excellent question. And I think that part of what we need to do is take a really hard look on what transportation means so that people understand it's more than just getting from point A to point B. It's literally the lifeblood and how we're going to be able to move people around our region, get them access to the urban core, and bring down our carbon emission footprint. So we have to work hard. I'm going to leave my contact number information in the chat, and we'll connect, and I'll be there tomorrow night so we can talk more.
Awesome. Thank you, Port Commissioner Hasegawa, both for joining us and I know it's a really tight chunk to come and do these introductions. So thanks for putting your contact information and for joining us at the social. So everyone show up. Great opportunity to have deeper conversations with our candidates. Okay. And then we've got one more introduction, I guess more of a reintroduction. I mean, this was also a reintroduction. I think we have Councilmember Mosqueda. I saw her join. If you could raise your hand. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Put on a spotlight. Okay, and I think you saw the run through of it, so you get the same chunks of time. So I'll hand it right on over to you.
Okay, excellent. Well, hello, everybody. It's great to be with the 43rd again. Thank you so much for all you're doing. I see you out in the streets. I see you at the protests, and I know that you're on the front line fighting for residents in the 43rd and overall in our country as a whole. I'm Teresa Mosqueda. I'm your King County Council member. I'm currently the chair of the Board of Health and the chair of the Health, Housing, and Human Services Committee. And I am running for re-election to come back to King County, this time for 4 years. As you noted, this was only a 3-year term because we're getting on even year cycles. Our hope is that this even year will help drive voter turnout. And I think that there is really an incredible outpouring of support from community members right now, showing that we can protect our own and we must stand up and protect our community residents in the face of growing fascism and outright authoritarianism. And you also need a local government to fight back. I'm thankful that many of you have been working with us. We have passed and enhanced the Welcoming County policy just last week. We introduced a policy that makes sure that no county properties can be used for ICE staging. This follows the resolution that we worked in partnership with Representative Jayapal on to stand up and say that we need ICE reforms and we need to hold back on any funding until our rights are protected so that ICE cannot reign upon our residents. These are just the types of fights that we're having at the forefront under this Trump administration. And with you, I will continue to fight to make sure that we have a more affordable, livable, and just King County. As you probably know well, this means making sure that everyone has access to a good union living wage job, that they can start their own business, that they can have self-determination by having self-sufficiency and economic opportunity. I want there to be childcare in every county building, and I want there to be accessible transit. I'm excited to work with you now that I'm on the Sound Transit Board, and we will keep fighting for worker protections, for our health and resilience, and for our community to have all of the protections it needs, no matter who's in the White House.
Spot on for timing. Excellent.
I saw the
okay.
timer just in time, so that was great. Thank you.
Love it, love it. Okay, we're gonna put 3 minutes up for questions. So if anyone has any questions, raise your hand or throw them in the chat. Yeah, Timothy.
Yeah, I just you mentioned maybe this isn't necessarily a King County question. Well, it's a state question. The even year election, Seattle can't do that, and I think it dramatically affects our whole governance. Any thoughts on having a state law passed to where we can have even year elections allowed?
Yeah, I think that anything that we can do to drive voter turnout, this is a constitutional right that we have. We should be making sure that everybody knows the years that they turn out. We should be giving people time off to go vote, and we should be doing everything we can to make it easy and accessible. A lot of that we have done through voter mail-in ballots, so yay us. And everything that we're working on, from proportional voting to ranked choice voting, all of these tools are needed in the toolkit. I also think, just my old hat for a second, that I think that Seattle has an opportunity to split the districts so that not all 7 district seats are up at the same time. That was something I tried to work on before leaving, and potentially something to help grow democracy as well. Lastly, I would say any jurisdiction that has the ability to move to an even year election, we know the data is on our side. And fundamentally, though, we need to make these good living wage jobs for everyone to be able to see themselves serving at city council, at the school district, at county councils across our state, and then we'll see more representative democracy.
Thank you. Ryan.
Oh, hi, council member. It's really wonderful to hear you talking about like improving our democracy, just even here at home. So I'm curious, like, especially since you mentioned things like proportional representation, like what ideas you feel most strongly about potentially implementing at the county level, and what, if you plan to introduce any sort of reforms to the county in this upcoming term.
Okay, thank you so much. I started with really focusing on immigration and immigrant protections that we're putting into place right now. I mentioned that we're introduced legislation that was on the dais today to make sure that no county property can be used for staging. I credit Toshiko Hasegawa at the port and Alexis Mercedes Rink at the city of Seattle for introducing similar legislation. We too want to follow the lead of what we're seeing in places like SeaTac and other locations that have announced, like the 2 jurisdictions I just mentioned, that have announced no more more detention facilities on our public properties. So we don't want the creation of any new detention facilities while we also hold accountable the existing ones in our region. In addition to that, I want to see housing, housing, housing. We want the county to be a creditor and to be able to use its debt capacity to build more housing and first-time home ownership. You're going to see us move forward with surveillance technology ordinance because we want to be on par with what at least Seattle has. And lastly, we're going to keep pushing forward on worker protection. So please visit me at teamteresa.org.
Thank you so much for joining us, Councilmember Mosqueda. And again, appreciate your working within the timers that we have. And your website's in the link, so anyone who's interested can learn some more there. And then hopefully we'll see you at Ballots and Bubbly, which we're looking forward to in May, where hopefully all of our elected candidates will be, so that we can have some deeper conversations.
Thank you all so much.
Okay. See, even with those 5 minutes, even 5 minutes doesn't, I don't know. Always interesting to me how quickly it flies by, and it's like, oh, I just, would love some more time, but then if we gave every candidate 10 minutes, our entire meeting would become candidate introductions, which, that's why Ballots and Bubbly is there. Okay, our next thing on our agenda is PCO appointments. So let me check in real quick. I know we were right on the edge of having enough PCOs. Not yet. Okay.
Not just yet.
Okay, so what I'm going to do real quick, we're going to post once more, because I know we've had a lot of people join us since we started the meeting. If you've joined us and you have not signed in yet, please go to the chat and use the link to sign in, especially if you're a PCO. So for PCO appointments, we need to have 15 PCOs here. We've got 56 people in the Zoom right now. So we probably have 15 PCOs if everyone signs in. So I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes to sign in if you haven't signed in yet. I'm going to jump ahead to the state convention process, and then we'll come back and we'll check if we've got everyone enough people to do our PCO appointments. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. Over here. Get this up. Can everyone see my screen? Always got to check. Perfect. Okay. So as you might know from my semi-frequent emails about the process, we have a state convention for the Washington Democrats coming up this year. There we go. So the state convention is hosted every 2 years. It is a place for Democrats across the state to come together, to pass resolutions calling on our state party to take actions, to update the bylaws, and to set the state platform, right? And the state platform is the policies that we as an entire state Democratic Party are pushing for. It's also a really great place to meet people and to build community, to attend some trainings, and to work and get an opportunity to engage with some of our elected officials. This year, the state convention is going to be June 19th through 21st in Spokane. To give you a little bit of a sense of the agenda, the 19th is usually just, the first night is usually just a social. The 20th is going to be a day for the caucuses to meet and filled with all of the workshops. And the 21st is going to be the day when we vote on everything. So that'll be voting on resolutions, voting on rules changes, voting on platforms changes. This is a hybrid event, so you do not need to go in person to Spokane. You can enjoy it from the comfort of your own house. And we're probably going to get some sort of community room or a space in the library so that the people who want to stay in Seattle and not travel, but want to still be part of a group, can get together, share some snacks, coordinate amongst each other. So you can still be in a community space, even if you don't want to go all the way to Spokane. We'll also be coordinating some carpools for the people who want to go over to Spokane, but might need some transit. So every LD gets to elect a slate of delegates to represent them. Some people are automatically delegates. So me and Emily as the chair and the vice chair, as well as Senator Peterson, Rep. Macri, and Rep. Scott are automatically delegates, and our two state committee electeds, or our state committee members, so Amy and Daoud, are also automatically delegates. We then get additional delegates that we get to fill. There's a base number of delegates plus bonus delegates based on a variety of things like meeting diversity goals that were set in previous years, how many Democrats we have representing us in elected office, how blue our presidential vote was. So the 43rd has a total of 30 delegates and 10 alternates, so 40 total people that can be a part of this process. 30 that will get to vote and 10 that are alternates, although in the past, alternates have very commonly stepped in to assist in the voting process. And even if you are only a alternate, alternates still get to engage in the process of thinking through and planning out our resolutions and our platform amendments in preparation for the convention. If you'd like to know what our diversity goals are, these goals are based upon the demographic information of the LD, with the exception of disability and LGBTQ goals, which are set as a set percentage across every LD because they use census data for this, and the census data does not go to give us information about those particular identities. So our goals as set by the state party are right here. You can see them laid out. These goals ostensibly will then determine how many bonus delegates we get at the next convention in 2028, which is probably going to be an exciting convention. So we would like to have a really strong delegation both for this meeting, which will be a great opportunity for us to focus on platform changes and resolutions, and to set us up well for 2028 when we will be in the middle of a presidential primary. So who can run to be a state delegate? Anyone who lives in the district that's willing to publicly identify themselves as a Democrat. They do not need to be a member of the 43rd. They do not need to be of voting age. They do not need to be a citizen of the United States. If they live in the 43rd and they are willing to declare themselves as a Democrat, they can participate. If you have any teens in your life that are really in, starting to get into politics, they can join us. Anyone who meets these criteria can apply to be a delegate. So it's pretty expansive, which is great because it means that we can have a really wide array of views and perspectives that are represented in our delegation. Why should you run? Well, number one, this is one of the biggest ways that our LD has to impact the state Democratic Party's official position on things. There are state committee meetings that happen occasionally, but they are shorter, and it is harder sometimes for us or for anyone LD to push for things. So this is a great way to influence the state party's direction. It's a great way to represent your perspective and any communities that you might represent. It is a way to connect with other members of the LD, other members of other LDs and elected officials. And as noted earlier, there are some great work sessions and trainings that take place. So if you're looking to bulk up your skills in certain areas, this can be a great way to support that as well. So what's our timeline? There is the online delegate self-nomination form has been open since January 1st. You've probably seen it in my weekly emails every week, poking you about it. They are going to be closing on February 20th. So we have 3 more days for anyone who's potentially interested to apply. We would really, really love anyone who's even considering it to throw their name in the hat and to help us make sure that we have a diverse array of people that are going to be representing the 43rd. We want to make sure at a minimum we fill all of our slots, but really we want to have a wide array of voices and perspectives to hear from and to choose to be a part of this delegation. We're going to be hosting a delegate candidate forum on February 24th from 7 to 8:30. So that'll be online, and that'll be an opportunity for you to come and hear from all of the people that are applying to be delegates. Now, all of our delegates, you don't have to come if you don't want to. And also, it's a 2-minute statement, so don't feel like you need to prepare like a whole giant, massive thing. It's going to be nice and easy, just an opportunity for you to share a little bit about yourself, share why you want to run for delegate. There'll be 2-minute statements, and we'll just work our way through them so that people have an opportunity to get to know a little bit about everyone and to make their choice. The ballot is going to be sent out on March 1st. It is managed by the state party. So the state party will email all of our members a link to vote. You have from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on March 1st to do this election. I would recommend that people do it early in the day so that you can then come to the Protect the Public town hall later in the afternoon and already have your voting taken care of. So, a good schedule for March 1st. Get up, vote for your delegates, come to Protect the Public, hear from some awesome lawmakers, and get connected to some ways to be involved. Then from after the election until May 22nd, the members that are chosen as delegates will get together and they will work on our proposals from the LD on what we would like to send to the state party. Is there a deadline to become a member in order to be eligible to vote for delegates? Yes, that deadline was February 15th. We had to send a list yesterday, which was the 16th. We had to send a list yesterday of everyone who is a member by the 15th to get that voting link. So anyone who is a member as of Sunday will be able to vote for these delegates. But the delegates will get together. We will pick out 2 resolutions that we will send forward to the state party. We will probably do that in coordination with the other Seattle LDs because we often have similar ideas and we don't want to duplicate. So we'll talk with them and figure that out. We will also take a look at the state's platform and decide if there's anything that we would like to propose for changes to it. And get all of that set up and prepared. We send that out on May 22nd. And then, of course, the convention will take place on the 19th through the 21st. There were some trainings. I think they're all, there's one training left. There's one training left if you would like to go to a training on how to run for delegate. And you can find that link in the previous weekly emails that I've sent out. It's in there all the time. I'll also find it and throw it into the chat in just a second. Okay. And then real quick, I wanted to give an opportunity for anyone who's been a state delegate before who might want to share just a little bit about what the process was like and what they got out of it to all of our members here who might be considering doing the same. So is there anyone who's been a delegate before who'd like to share a little bit about what that experience was like? Otherwise, it's just going to be me talking some more. I can do it. Okay. Well, I will share, I guess, from my experience. I really appreciated the delegate process, not only because it allowed me to meet a lot of newer people that I had not engaged with much in the 43rd before, but I thought that it was a really great container to have conversations with other members of the 43rd around what issues really mattered to us and to see how everyone's passion showed up in different areas, but we were able to support everyone, especially when it comes to the platform changes. Like every delegate gets one change to the platform. And so working with everyone to see where their areas of interest were, what they wanted to advocate for, and to work collaboratively to push for a bunch of really great changes to the state platform, I found to be a really empowering process and a really great way to connect with others. I see a few questions in here too. Will the statements from the delegate candidates be available online? That's a great question, Curtis. And yes, they are. In fact, you can, so here's the delegate nomination form right here for anyone who might be interested in signing up to be a delegate. And then if you would like to see who has already applied and to check out statements beforehand, you can do that at the delegate directory, which I'm going to throw in the chat right here. So as you can see, if you go to the directory, there is already, we've already got some people who have signed up, and you can see brief descriptions, brief biographies of people there, as well as some of the identity groups that they identify with. And so these will be available. So even if you want to run and you can't make it to the delegate forum, people will still have information on you and why you are running. How much do people tend to spend going to the convention? That's a great question, Ryan. I'll be honest, last time I did it remotely, so I spent the money it took to run my computer from home. We will set up some carpools, so that will hopefully reduce a barrier on that side. Although I do know that some of the hotels in the area, I think people were saying were somewhere in the range of like, I don't even know. I know someone was looking into it, but it's now escaped my mind what it is. So if you're going to go over and spend the night, the main cost would likely be lodging. And then there's an opportunity to purchase food during the day if you're there. Or you can, I think you can, some people will like leave during lunch period and go get lunch out and then come back. So yeah, 30 seats and 10 alts. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, 25. We've got 26 people signed up right now. So in terms of how many people applied last time, I think we had somewhere in the range of, was it somewhere around 50, I think? Something like that. Somewhere in like the 45 to 50 range. Although I don't know if we exactly had 40 last year. But we did have more people who wanted to be delegates than we had slots the last time we did this 2 years ago. But that was also, you know, a presidential election year. And so a few more people tend to apply in presidential election years than in these off years. Yep. And thank you, Amy. As Amy noted, and during non-presidential elections, we usually seat a lot of our alternates because things come up for people. Cool. Well, if you have any questions about it, please reach out. Again, the link to sign up if you're considering is in there, so feel free to apply it. Oh, and then someone asked, when will the platform be available? The state's platform is going to be something that is crafted over the next few months, so it will come out probably sometime in April. And then the delegation will look at that platform and talk through the revisions that we want. So they moved everything a lot earlier this year because last year everything was very crunched and we didn't really have time. So this year it's spread out more, which means we need to be more prepared on the front end, but it also means that we'll have a lot more time to thoughtfully engage with the platform and resolutions than we did last year. Cool. Okay. I'm going to check back in. Liam, how are we doing?
We have PCO quorum.
Woo! Excellent. I'm so excited. Wonderful. Thank you for all of our PCOs for showing up and for signing in. So with that, we're going to now move over to PCO appointments. So we have 8 people who are excited to join us as PCOs. And just as a quick reminder, if you don't remember, PCOs are the link between our communities and the party. They have precincts, which are small, usually a few block area that they are taking on to be the liaison between the 43rd and their community. Their responsibility is focused around going and engaging with their precinct, especially to knock on some doors in primary and general election season and remind people to get out the vote and to share who the 43rd has endorsed. As a former PCO chair, I love the PCOs. I think they're really like the heart of our party. So really excited to have a large number of people stepping up. Also, I'll just name, we did have a couple other people who applied in the past when King County Dems was updating their system. We know that your applications got lost. We have recovered them now. We will be reaching out to you and we will be getting you on the docket in March. So I think we have another 7 people who are going to be coming up in March to get signed up as PCOs. So really great to see all of this. So I'm going to now give some space to each of our PCOs to give a quick introduction of themselves and why they'd like to step into this role. We'll just go down in the order that I've got them here. And if they're not here, that is totally okay. First, we'll see if Milan. Is Milan here?
It does not look like Milan is here.
Okay, next up we've got Jean.
Hi, I'm here. I've been a PCO before and it was nice. I went door to door. I did a postcard campaign and like you said, it is a great way of just getting yourself to talk to people about things you're interested in and care about.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you for stepping up to do it again, Jean. Great to have someone with experience coming back in. Next up, Amy.
Hi, everybody. So I've been PCO for my precinct, my little precinct in the U district for, gosh, about 10 years now. What happened, though, is that my precinct got redistricted. So I wasn't able to do the election process, or I did the election process, but then I got redistricted. So I'm running for appointment to keep filling the role. I did walk my precinct anyway last winter, and I love my neighbors. I love getting to work with them. If you have a lot of friends in your neighborhood and would like to run for PCO, we can always use more. So please consider applying.
Love it. Thank you, Amy. Leonard, is Leonard here? Maybe not tonight. Okay. Next up, I see Rochelle.
Rachel, hello.
Rachel.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Olden, and this will be my first time being a PCO. I really believe in local organizing. I think that that is where real change begins, as well as political leadership at the local level. And so I am very excited about the prospect of getting my community, my neighbors, involved in the process, helping them understand it and getting involved. And so we can do our part towards systemic change.
Love it. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for stepping into this new position. So excited to have you join us.
Thank you.
Next up, Morgan.
Yes, hi all. Nice to see everyone.
Oh no, Morgan, I think we've lost your audio. We can see you. We can't, we heard you at the very beginning.
Okay.
Oh,
Can you
wait,
hear
now
me
you're
now?
back. Okay, you're good.
Apologies. I'm getting an internet connection is unstable error, so super sorry. I'll keep it brief. Yes, I was a former 43rd board member. I was the meetings and events chair during the beginning of COVID, actually, before leaving for grad school. I actually came back to Seattle after getting my MPA. So excited to be back and get involved more thoroughly again with the 43rd.
Love it. Welcome back, Morgan. So excited to have you. Next up, we have Sean.
Hello. I'm here trying to turn video on, and it's going not well.
No worries.
Any case, and it's not turning on. Okay. Oh, I see. See what's going on. Sorry.
The joys of technology. No worries at all.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Let's try it again. Okay, it's not working. Oh, there it is. Hey, sorry about the dark image here. I don't have much lighting over here, apparently. I've been involved in Democratic politics since I was 16. I've worked coast to coast, Florida, Missouri, and Oregon, but I've never dabbled into the pool here in Seattle. So I'm looking forward to being involved in Seattle, bringing some of my own issues and getting to know my neighbors.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Welcome, welcome. And then last up, we've got Brett.
Hi, yeah, I'm Brett. I'm newer, new PCO, and newer to political involvement in general. I did my first big thing was phone banking in the 24 election, and that was exciting and has inspired me to get involved on the local level. So happy to be here.
Excited to have you. Welcome, Brett. Okay, I love this. A mix of returners and some new people, 8 wonderful people willing to step in and help strengthen up the 43rd. So I would entertain a motion that we approve this slate of PCOs through acclamation. And acclamation is not just that we support them, we are ecstatic and excited to have them jump into these positions. Would
So
anyone
moved.
So moved? Thank you,
Yeah,
David.
I
Can I
move.
get a
Yeah.
second from Mark? Any
Second
opposed?
from Mark.
Perfect. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Excellent. Then the 43rd welcomes all 8 of you as new PCOs. We're so excited to have you. Thank you for stepping into this position, and we're excited to get you looped in on everything. Woo, yeah, lots of confetti. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, next up, we have a brief slate card report back from Liam. Liam, I can do a screen share for you if you want to do the presenting. Here we go.
Cool. So, hi all. Just wanted to share back a little bit about the slate cards that we sent out slightly before the November election last year. So we printed up right around like 5,529 slate cards total. And we ended up mailing out a little over half of those. And then we had another 2,000 that our lovely precinct committee officers got to pick up at the Pancakes for Progress event, as well as at our hybrid general meetings. Our members could grab them as well. So happy to get back to getting these so we can go out and advocate for the candidates that we have endorsed and support. So where did we send them to? So pretty clustered when you look at it on a map. But there's a method to the madness. We basically took a look at the highest share of non-single family homes based on the most recent census data. And then we further filtered, since we can only hit so many, filtered to ones who don't already have a PCO. And then we targeted the top of those lists to send them some postcards. Because getting into those apartment buildings, that is a tough sell for our PCOs to get in there. They sometimes can't get in with door security, that sort of thing. So what was the turnout? So this is kind of the, slightly less fun to see, but it's nice to have a data point, and as we continue to do outreach in the future, we'll have more data points we can add and analyze together. Basically, we saw a let me just double check my notes. I believe it was a 7.5% increase for the precincts from the 2023 election to the 2025 election for that area, and then in similar precincts. So for ones that are similar demographics, like not single family heavy, but ones we did not send postcards to, those hit a 9.27% increase. So the ones we sent postcards to had a lower increase from 2023 to 2025. The kind of challenging takeaway with this is, we can only compare one cycle back really accurately, because this is the first election cycle that we could compare, the first odd year election cycle we could compare with this new map. So the direct mail didn't appear to make a huge difference as far as we can tell, but it might have we also, there's so many other factors that it's hard to tell, but onwards and upwards, and yeah, happy to get them out at least.
Awesome. Thank you, Liam. And I think, does anyone have a quick question or two around those results? We wanted to make sure that we shared them with you, because we want to make data-driven decisions as how we spend our limited funds as the 43rd. And we know that in the past we have seen some positive impact from mailing out to apartment buildings that are challenging to get PCOs into. And as Liam said, it's tricky to parse exactly what impact our mailers have versus many other factors that went into this election. Yeah, Curtis.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for the information and for the data. I'm wondering, Liam, if you considered, or if you all would consider, instead of just picking like your top ones that you would use, and you would send everything to all of the top ones, doing some sort of interleaving that would allow for a better control test comparison.
That would absolutely be a thing that I would love to learn more about and look into for the future. We, as Ryan just said, we would love to find ways to optimize our limited funds to make these as effective as we can. That sort, kind of the logic that goes into who we target, and kind of like doing an A/B test, as Frederic said. Definitely would be interested in looking into doing something like that.
Yeah, I do data science and experimental design and stuff at UW, so reach out to me.
We'll be in touch.
Excellent. We're recruiting you, Curtis. We'll have so another version of this to come as we try to figure out how we can most effectively be reaching, especially those renters that we know are core to turn out for our LD, but are also sometimes the most challenging group to reach to, unless we have a building captain. Also a note, if any of you live in one of those large apartment buildings in Belltown, South Lake Union, Capitol Hill, any of those areas, U District, and you already live there, please let us know. We would love to set you up as a building captain, get you some of those slate cards, and get you supported. We'll send someone to go and knock on the doors with you. But having those one-on-one conversations and getting the ability to engage with renters in their buildings can be incredibly impactful. We saw the impact of this with Prop 1A and the social housing developer both creating it and funding it. So we know how powerful it can be if we can get into those buildings and engage with people. And of course, we're always open to other ideas, whether that's as we set up our tabling team this year, starting to table at farmers markets or outside of grocery stores, thinking about how we can meet people where they're at in the community if we're not able to go up and just knock on their door. So thank you, Liam, for doing that analysis. Interesting to see the results from it. Okay, next up is legislative update. I'm going to pass it over to Jacob for a quick rundown on some of the bills that we've passed resolutions on.
Yeah, I'll be pretty quick. I just have updates on a few bills. First, the Washington Fund has unfortunately been deemed dead by leadership for this session. So really sad to see that one not moving forward. I do have some exciting news, though. There's an action that you can actually take tonight in support of House Bill 1687 to support social housing. It has a hearing in the Senate tomorrow morning at 10:30. And a lot of people have signed in con. So if you have a chance to sign in pro tonight, that would make a big help. I'll drop a link on where to do that in the chat. It just takes a couple of minutes, really. And the last update is on SB 5112. That's the bill establishing prescribing psychologist certification in Washington. That needed to pass out of committee today, and it looks like it unfortunately did not. So maybe we'll see it come back next session. And that's all I've got. I'll drop that link below.
So thank you, Jacob. Thanks for staying on top. And I'll just note, Jacob is often finding additional really great bills. And so we're going to be thinking through our process for the next legislative session on how we can not just rely on resolutions and pass them one at a time, but try to bring a slate of different policies to you all to keep you informed about them and then to create some easy to take advocacy actions throughout the legislative session. We'll also, of course, be pointing to lots of great partner organizations and organizations that we align with values-wise that are doing this type of work to give you easy ways to let our lawmakers know about some of the great policies we'd like to see passed. Yeah, Timothy.
Yeah, I was just wondering for legislation, Northwest Progressive Institute, they were in support of a bill that would allow the legislative session to last more than in my opinion, godforsaken, 60 days this year and 105 next. I guess the state stops existing the rest of the year, which seems bad. So I'm wondering if we sponsor or support anything about that. And I'm also curious anything about the even year, because there's a bill that would allow even year elections if municipalities chose to.
Yeah. So from my understanding is the even year election bill didn't make it out of. So this is the chamber cutoff. So they need to get out of their original chamber essentially earlier today. So I believe the even year election one didn't make it, and neither did the extending the session one. Although the extending the session one, I believe, is also a constitutional amendment because it is written into our Constitution. Those 60 and 105-day dates might have made sense back when that Constitution was written. I agree that it does not quite make sense in our current era, and it creates a lot of barriers to accessibility for people to be able to run for these positions, right? You need to have a job that allows you to take a couple months off and then still come back to it in order to take on being a state lawmaker and then still hold that responsibility and hold a full, like your normal job when session is not happening, which is a constraint. And it also creates these calendars that we see where there's cutoff. And it can be really challenging to have a thoughtful conversation about policy when everything is always like, okay, we've got 1 week until the next cutoff happens. So we don't have any official policy on that yet. We will be updating the 43rd's platform this year in preparation for looking at the state's platform. So would be a great plank for us to bring forward and to see where our members stand on it. And again, we'll try to think through a system next year where it's instead of having to bring a resolution for each of these bills that we want to support, we bring kind of a slate. And I think that would be a great one for us to put on there and think about how we can support throughout next year's longer legislative session.
And just to clarify that, the bill that would have changed the dates for legislative session, my understanding is that it would not have changed, it would have just allowed the legislature to change the amount of time. It wouldn't have stipulated more or less. It would just allow them
Correct. Yep, it allowed them to kind of pick how long session was going to be every year. But because it's in the Constitution, they have to pass it, and then it has to go to the voters, and then the voters have to approve it because it's a constitutional amendment, which is its own fun process, but one that's worth having. And hopefully, I mean, we might be having some other ballots that, or things that are going before in front of the voters around legislation, probably this coming November too, that we're going to have to be pushing for as well. Looking at the millionaire's tax is looking like it'll make its way through, but we're almost certainly going to see Brian Haywood and Let's Go Washington gather signatures and try to repeal it in the November ballot. So we're going to have as well as the two anti-trans bills that we already know are going to be on the November ballot. So lots of things to push back on for November. Okay, next is our secretary report back. So this is our area. You might notice that in all of our resolutions, we have a little line at the end that says the secretary is going to come back and let us know what we've heard. So I'm going to put the spotlight on Frederic, and we'll get some updates on what we've heard from some of our lawmakers.
Thanks, Ryan. So the two bills that we supported that unfortunately are now dead. We did get replies from Senator Peterson for both. For the prescribing psychology bill, he said that he would support it if it was coming to the floor, but last year it didn't have the votes to make it out of committee. He said he would inquire with the committee chair to see how it was going. And I guess he didn't hear anything, and the bill didn't make it out of committee. But I do appreciate at least his reply regarding this bill. Well, Washington Fund, same thing. Obviously, you all heard Senator Peterson and the Democratic leadership decided to prioritize the millionaire's tax. Turns out we had the breaking news before anyone else when we sent him the resolution. I think 2 or 3 days, maybe even more before it was public. He had already shared with us that, unfortunately, in the Senate, at least, the Washington Fund bill wouldn't have the votes, and so they made a conscious decision to prioritize the millionaire's tax. I also want to mention something that wasn't a resolution, but it's something we worked on during a weekend, and that's after Alex Pretty's killing in Minneapolis, and the board wrote an open letter in support of a solidarity strike in response to that killing. And we shared it with a lot of our elected officials. Actually, we got a lot of responses from them. We got the response from Senator Cantwell, who said she will not vote for additional funding for DHS or ICE. That was before like the shutdown of DHS. Pramila Jayapal also essentially said the same thing, not giving another cent to ICE. In addition to everything we hear about requiring a warrant, which I guess is the Constitution, but we're still going to advocate for it. She also wanted to make sure we end the use of private for-profit prisons, and she would not give another cent to DHS if it wasn't the case. We got a response from Senator Peterson, 3 bills. Banning face coverings for law enforcement officers, establishing some data and personal safety protections for Washingtonians, and increasing the accountability of sheriffs and other local law enforcement to follow state law. All 3 bills passed the Senate, and so now they're in the House to be reviewed, and they seem to have good support. And the last response we got was from the city attorney, Erica Evans, that was right around the announcement from the mayor's office about the executive order prohibiting federal immigration authorities from using any city-owned, city-controlled properties for civil immigration enforcement. So obviously she's supporting that. And her office joined dozens, that's her word, dozens of CD and amicus brief in support of the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis against Secretary Noem, asking the federal courts to seize the ICE surge there and act to curb the unlawful detainments of immigrants and brutal uses of force on civilians. So overall, pretty happy with the responses from our elected officials across all of the resolutions and the open letters we send them.
Awesome. Thank you, Frederic, and thank you as always for coordinating, getting those all out to everyone and passing along those responses. I know it's a lot, it's a lot of emails, and we appreciate you managing all of it and then bringing those responses back here. Okay, with that, we're going to move into resolution time. We've got 3 resolutions to talk through tonight, 2 of them around data centers and 1 of them around the platform formerly known as Twitter. So we're going to start with our data center resolutions, and I see Lauren is here. So I'm going to pass it in the spotlight. Well, actually, I'm going to do a screen share, but Lauren is going to walk us through this first one, and then we'll vote on it. And then the second one, which is related but slightly different, both of them, again, relating to data centers. So Lauren, thanks for coming. And let me get the screen share going. Here you go. And then I just threw a link for this first one in the chat if people want to follow along.
Fabulous. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Great. Okay. So data centers and AI are, kind of getting our nation up in arms. There's a lot of debate around the environmental impact of data centers. And our neighbor, Oregon, has been one of the first states that has passed a law kind of regulating data centers. They've been driving up energy costs and affordability across the country. And Oregon, through the Power Act that was passed last year, classified data centers as their own rate class, which allows utilities to charge data centers for building out the transmission, distribution, and power generation that they're requiring as they're adding giant loads onto the grid. So this time around in our legislative session, we're taking a little bit of their example. This bill, House Bill 2515, so Senate bill unfortunately did not move forward, but the House Bill 2515 is now in the Senate. It designates data centers as their own rate class, which allows for that special, or allows utilities to treat them as to charge them certain rates, to charge them higher rates for the transmission and distribution build out. The original bill had several other ways that utilities could mitigate the impact of data centers on populations, including allowing utilities in Washington state, utilities have to serve clients within, I think it's like there's an obligation to serve clients unless there's some reason not to for negative standing. And previous versions of the bill allowed utilities to say no if a data center was going to bring too much was going to require too much energy that would negatively impact other customers' reliability or affordability, then the utilities could say no. That was unfortunately struck. There was a fee that was going to be provided to it was going to generate money for low-income families who are dealing with the rate increases of electricity that we've been seeing across the country. And that was unfortunately struck, but they're still requiring this bill would require data centers to report on annual energy and water usage, which is still very important. It would also require data centers to build out new clean electricity, 80% by 2031, and now it's 100% by 2046. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's super important to say. That does include nuclear. I know some folks have different takes on that, so I just wanted to point that out. But anyways, this resolution is in support of that bill. A lot of senators and representatives have not heard about it so far. The tech industry is coming out really heavy against this bill. They've watered it down. As I mentioned, there's several really positive things in there that would have helped protect customers, ratepayers, communities in times of grid stress that have been taken out. So this resolution is in order to support the bill and also strengthen it to bring back stronger environmental protection, stronger reporting. I think right now the reporting in the bill is only required for the Department of Ecology and not necessarily to the public, which doesn't help the public decide whether or not our water and energy resources should be going towards these facilities. To return the annual fee that was supposed to help with low-income affordability and weatherization, and then to sorry, the original timeline for 100% renewable energy was in 2035 rather than 2045. The reason why under CETA, under the Clean Energy Transmission Act, the Clean Energy Transformation Act, we allowed utilities to make the timeline 2045 was because they were transitioning all of their old infrastructure into renewables and clean energy. This is new build out, and we are arguing that because they're new facilities, they should be clean from the start. So I think that's it.
Awesome.
Ryan, any
Thank
other?
you, Lauren. Yeah, no, thank you for walking us through it. I know this bill does a lot of things, and in particular, things that it used to do that it no longer does. So thank you for walking us through and giving us a sense both of the impact of data centers and what this bill is currently aiming to do and how we can strengthen it. At this point, we open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions about this resolution? Luke asks, why are data centers targeted specifically compared to other commercial uses? Would Amazon data centers be considered similar to Amazon warehouses under existing law?
I don't think so. I think it's because of the amount of water and energy that these are requiring. So, for example, the data centers that are the size of the data centers, in order for them to be classified as their own emerging large energy use facility, they're 20 megawatts or greater. Um, in comparison, or for like as an example, the city of Everett runs on 100 megawatts. So these facilities are like a fifth of the size of Everett. And I don't think we have the information of how much water they're actually using in Washington because there just isn't that transparency. But we know that like hyperscale data centers of like 100 megawatts or more can use like hundreds of thousands of gallons of water per day, essentially. So that's why they're specifically targeted because they're just yeah, it's kind of baffling how much resources they're using. Um, there is an Amazon data center that we just realized is being built out in Walla Walla, and it's 200 to 300 megawatts. So that's like two or three times the size of Everett being added to the grid. Um, are they subject to lower environmental regulations? I don't think I don't think that they necessarily are. I think that the way that the tech companies are getting around it is by building maybe 50 megawatts at a time and kind of building out a building by building rather than looking at the whole project or the whole campus. And when you look at that and you look at the water use or the energy use required with that, I think that might change the equation a little bit more. Does that
And
answer
then
your
someone had,
question, Luke? Go ahead.
and then someone had asked about administrative costs. So if you're interested, if you go to the leg.wa.gov and go to the bill page for the bill, you can scroll down and you can get the fiscal note. And so this would have all of the information around any of the costs that are associated. Granted, these are projections that are estimates by staff in different state departments, and some of them are more accurate than others. Just take fiscal notes with a grain of salt around how much they will actually cost. These are projections that some state employees spend a lot of time on, and others do not spend a lot of time on. So, yeah, just as a caveat. Cool. Sweet. Okay. Curtis, did you have another follow-up question or? Okay, cool. So, seeing no more questions, we will then move into our statements for and against. So as a reminder, we are allowed up to 3 statements for and against. They are 2 minutes each. We pair them. So if someone is not going to speak against, then we don't do a statement for. So is there anyone who would like to speak against this resolution? Sawyer? You want to speak against?
Sorry, I was gonna start with 4. Holding that back.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to speak against? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Seeing that no one wants to speak against, we'll skip the statements for and against, although we'll note that Sawyer supports it. And then seeing that no one wanted to speak against the resolution, I would entertain a motion that we approve this resolution by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Moved by Jacob. Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
Second by Sawyer. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, the resolution is passed. Thank you all. Okay, next up is another data center resolution. I'm going to throw this one in the chat for everyone as well. A lot of the talking points about the impact of data centers are included here, but I'll pass it over to Lauren real quick. Lauren, do you want to tell us about the tax breaks that data centers were getting and why we don't want them to get tax breaks?
Yeah, I mean, they're getting ridiculous tax breaks. I think it was last year or 2023, they got 118 million from Washington State. And I think since 2018, it's been around 400 million, and 65% of that has gone to Microsoft, which is like $3 trillion company, does not need our subsidies. But it's supposed to be a job creation program, and the fact is that the data center tax exemptions require the creation of 3 jobs per 20,000 square feet or 35 jobs per building, whichever is less. So it's pretty insane. I think ProPublica and the Seattle Times broke the story that there hadn't really been an audit of that program, but that based on the job requirements, it probably was like 220 or $205,000 per job that was actually created, and a maximum of 260 jobs, given the 584 million that we've given to data centers since 2012. We are in a budget crisis. We can't pay for nice things in Washington. And I would argue, yeah, so I'd argue, yeah. So right now, the cost of our providing our social services is increasing with the population growth and outpacing our revenue growth. In a state such as Washington, where we have a regressive tax structure, sales tax is one of the few ways that rural counties have to recuperate funds for their own services, and we're taking this away from them by saying like data centers are just exempt. This bill itself, it doesn't take away all data center tax exemptions, which is a problem as well. It only takes away tax exemptions for refurbishment. I think the state was giving certificates for refurbishment, about 6 of them a year, to data centers, and that for the fiscal note and the estimates that Ryan was showing us earlier, it would increase state revenues by about 63 million per year. So it's not insignificant. That still means that data centers get, oh goodness, I mean, there isn't really a cap. So if we're looking at previous years, 50 to 60 million plus in new data center build out. So I think we are saying, we would like to see that also strengthened here. We don't want to give them a perverse incentive of taking away their like data center, the incentives for refurbishment, but continuing to incentivize unlimited build out across the state. So that is this resolution.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. Any questions on this resolution? Yeah, Curtis.
It's a better spot to ask my question. So Lauren, you might be able to give more information about this, but my understanding is that when source communities use more electricity in Bureau of Reclamation projects, that it leads to higher downstream rates for electricity. And so if that's happening, and given that the state of Washington has some funding for low-income utilities, it will actually increase the cost to the state of Washington of giving these tax credits as the cost of those subsidized utilities increase. Is that understanding correct, Lauren, or am I wrong on something?
Um, I think that sounds correct. I also know that right now there's a loophole in the Climate Commitment Act where, and this might be what you're talking about, and I'm not sure, but where utilities could be subsidizing data centers um, for affordability costs at the moment. And there's another bill that is trying to close that loophole. Is that what you're talking about? Maybe? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're subsidizing them twice, essentially.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Going once, going twice. Okay, seeing none, and seeing that no one wanted to speak in opposition, I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Thank you, Jacob. Is there a second?
Second. Mark seconds.
Thank you, Mark. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay. We pass, so the resolution is passed by unanimous consent. Thank you, Lauren, for working with the 43rd and putting these together. They're incredibly well researched. The board learned a lot thanks to you digging in on all of this. And really, really great for us to have a stance on putting some guardrails around data centers. Okay, we got one resolution left, everyone. Now, at this point, I'm going to check real quick. Is Brendan here? Okay, not seeing Brendan here. I know that they were teaching a class, so they might still be working on all of those things. So, what I'm going to do real quick. So Brendan pulled it together. This is the original resolution, the one that was sent out to everyone with our 10 days of notice. However, our secretary, Frederique, has done some work. Oh, see, look at me. Gotta make sure everyone can view. To update this a little bit. In particular, to just clean up the formatting and to include a reference of all of our lawmakers' actual X accounts as a reference list. So we're going to have to do a little bit of parliamentary magic around this because the original one that was put forward is essentially what we'll do is we'll treat this as a replacement resolution or a series of a large series of amendments that we can vote on at one time. So what I'll do is I'll walk real quick through the original resolution, and then we will look at the updated version and treat that as a series of amendments. We will vote on if we want to accept those amendments, and then from there we'll vote on if we want to accept the resolution. Does that make sense? If anyone has any questions on that, feel free to ask. I know it's a little tricky, but this is the beauty of Robert's rules is it can drive us to a decision. The frustration of Robert's rules is sometimes you just want to say, can I do this thing? But we'll get through it. So this resolution is noting essentially that ever since Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, it has loosened moderation. It has added in some very terrible features. It is allowing users to generate and publish non-consensual sexually harassing images, allowing users to generate and publish child sexual abusive materials, and collecting money from users for those services. And it has just all become a just terrible place that no one should really be on. And that there are harms from people being on this platform and being exposed to all of this material, in addition to it violating a lot of different things. And so recognizing those harms, the 43rd Dems, we deactivated our account earlier. But this resolution is recognizing that X is it's getting even worse, and it is calling on our elected officials to essentially deactivate their accounts and get off of X, and to go onto other platforms that are not as toxic and terrible. So that is the original resolution. The updated one is essentially the same information. It adds a couple of different a couple new sources and yeah, Frederic, you wrote this. You walk us through what this is.
Yeah, I can walk through it quickly. So if you go to the beginning, small change in the first clause because Elon Musk is not CEO of X anymore. So small detail updated here. 2 and 3 are basically the same thing, but with more authoritative sources from the AP, Reuters. Then the fourth clause that was about other countries have begun blocking access. I actually mentioned Malaysia and Indonesia as countries that blocked X for a little bit. I also mentioned here that French authorities raided the X offices in Paris on suspicion of criminal criminal acts related to detention and diffusion of images of child pornographic nature and the violation of person image rights with sexually explicit deepfakes, among other potential crimes. I added a new clause here recognizing these arms and that some major politicians left X. Our very own council member Mosqueda, you can go to her account on X and it says that she's not using it anymore and she's pointing people to her Blue Sky account, as well as a few major politicians worldwide. Then this one is unchanged. We did leave X very anonymously. And in the bid, therefore resolved, I added a clause here that just elaborates a little bit on what we recognize and why we think it's not appropriate for elected officials and public institutions to send their constituents and citizens to X anymore. And the other clauses are essentially refactoring of the original ones. There's one that is the only substantial change here is the original resolution covered only elected officials. And I am proposing here in this updated version that it also covers public institutions, because I don't think it's normal that City of Seattle departments and King County agencies and like any government agency is sending people to a place where there is child sexual abuse materials. And so I also encourage these departments to take the same action. And finally, there were some named elected officials in the original one, but we have unfortunately, a lot of elected officials who are still on X. So instead of naming them in the resolution, I just say all elected officials who are still maintaining an official or campaign account on X, and I have an appendix that will not be included in the final resolution. Is just a reference here so that you know who I'm going to reach out to essentially to send this.
Excellent. Thank you, Frederic, for adding so much, like all of the work that you did to bulk that up and to give us some clarity. Does anyone have any questions on either versions of the resolution? Okay, not seeing any questions. The first thing that we're going to need to do is to Frederic have a proposal to accept these amendments to the resolution, essentially replacing the original resolution with this second drafted version. We're going to treat it as a collective group of edits. So I would need someone to move that.
Wait, point of procedure.
Yep.
Veronique noticed an additional correction that we might as well put in with all the amendments.
Go for it. What is, Frederick's updated version had an
February
incorrect date.
17th instead of 18th. Thank you for noting that. We actually established before that this is a clerical error. And so even if we pass the resolution, we will still be able to update it after the fact. But better to catch it now. So thank you, Veronique.
Excellent. Thank you for catching that. Okay. So we'll entertain a motion to accept these amendments to the resolution. Wait, someone needs to move that.
So moved.
Moved. Thank you, Jacob. Liam, is that a second, or do you have a question? Liam will second. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay. The second version of the resolution or these amendments are accepted. Now we need to take this as the final resolution to vote on. So is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this resolution? Going once, going twice. Curtis?
Yeah, I think I will, not because I maybe this isn't a reason not to vote for it, but because I know in the last meeting we talked about how having appointed pointing specifically at a company was going to run afoul of the procurement policies for King County. That was something we heard in response to something in the last meeting. And so I think the only opposition I would offer is that I would much rather see like the general things that we care about, like a specification of like these are the things we really care about, and that could hold force not only for a platform like X that is so poisonous and toxic, but also any other platform if it is that way currently or could become that way. And so I don't know that that's necessarily a reason to vote against this resolution, but maybe just like I think a better a more something that's focused more around the ideas rather than a
Right.
specific entity might be a better way to communicate those ideas.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think that from my understanding, the best place for us to do that would actually be in, speaking of platforms, our platform, because the platform is our declarative, like these are what we stand for. This is what we want to work on. So I would, and as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be updating our platform this year. So I think if it's okay, what we can do is we can put this on the back burner for when we do our platform update and think very purposely about maybe there's a whole media section that we want to add into our platform that is more declarative about the values that we stand for. And that would also empower the board to be more responsive in the future to any platform taking this kind of deep dive and not having to call them out specifically because we have a more general declarative statement of what we stand for. I'm saying that makes sense. Okay, cool. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to this? I'm never going to count that as opposition. That was just a very thoughtful comment, I think. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the resolution? Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay. Seeing none, we can take this to a vote, or we can do this through unanimous consent. Again, unanimous consent does not mean that everyone agrees. It means that we think that if we were to vote, we would get everyone, like enough people would vote for it that we would pass it. So I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution by unanimous consent.
So moved.
Okay, I'm gonna count. Mark moved it, and Jacob was a second. Any opposed? Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes, and we'll make a note that when we get to our platform updates, that we take these concepts and we cement them in a broader way that's more declarative of the values that we want to stand for. Lovely. Okay. Next up is committee reports. I've got a committee report from Jeff who had to run. Jeff is our mutual aid committee chair, and I'm just throw his report in there as well for people who want it. Just a reminder that the mutual aid subcommittee meets on the last Monday of the month at 6 p.m. If you are interested in being a part of it, Jeff put their email and their phone number in there, and they're going to be pushing for expanding shelter and increased opportunities for community care in these trying times. The Mutual Aid Committee also has a separate line item in the budget specifically for supporting local mutual aid groups. So if you have particular groups in the 43rd that you would like to see us donate some money to, you can connect up with the Mutual Aid Committee and they make those decisions and help distribute funds to people doing good work out in our community. I'm going to open it up for any other additional updates from any of our committee reports or committee chairs. Yeah, Amy.
Hi, everybody. So I attended the Washington State Democrats State Committee meeting January 25th up in Everett. One of the main things I was able to do at that meeting, our 43rd board had put out a statement in support of the general strike that was held in Minnesota. Of course, in response to the killing of Keith Porter, Alex Preddy, Renee Good, and all the other folks who have lost their lives to ICE violence in this last year, especially. We had put out a letter calling for, again, to join with our labor siblings and have everyone support that strike. I was able to start some conversations up with a lot of folks from around the state who are interested in continuing to support efforts like this as we go forward. We had some discussions as a committee on the wealth tax, ranked choice voting, holding the constitutional sheriffs accountable. You may have heard of constitutional sheriffs who think that they are kind of above the law and have been partnering with many right-wing movements. So we had a good discussion about that. But most of the discussion did center around what's happening in Minnesota, what's happening to all of our communities with ICE. And we really want to encourage everybody to, stay connected to the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network and other organizations for how you can help and support our community through this time. I'll just leave it at that because we're a little bit on time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amy. Jacob?
Yeah, I'll be quick. So the Policy and Advocacy Committee is going to be meeting next Wednesday from 6 to 7. And so if you wanted to get plugged into stuff like planning the platform update and some of our projects we have spinning up right now around that, that'd be a great place to get plugged in to do that. And we'll also be discussing any upcoming resolutions. There's like one kind of cooking right now that I'm aware of. And I have a bunch of posters for our March 1st Protect the Public event. And if you would like to come and do some postering with me around Belltown, Capitol Hill, or down by the waterfront, or anywhere else that you think would be good, but those are kind of top of mind for me, maybe like the South Lake Union area as well. Yeah, I'll drop my email in the chat and feel free to connect and we can go do some postering. Thank you.
I'll just second. It's fun to just go walk around with Jacob and put up posters. We were doing it earlier this last weekend. So if anyone wants to support and get people out, reach out. Yeah, Aaron.
Hey, I'm just going to quickly say Meetings and Events Committee is having our kickoff meeting next week, either Wednesday or Thursday, or probably 6 or 7, but we're figuring that out. Just email me. I put my email address in the chat. If you'd like to get involved, we'll discuss some volunteer opportunities for upcoming events, do some fun event planning, just get to figure out how we want to work together. So drop me an email. Thanks.
Love it. Okay. And as you can see, a lot of our committees are getting up and running. So this is a great time to get plugged in as we're starting to build these out and get our committees going, meeting events, policy and advocacy, mutual aid. So lots of opportunities to get plugged in and help move our work forward. And the more of us that are doing it, the more we can share out the load and the more we can get done. Okay, and then I know we've got real quick, a good of the order. I'm going to pass it over to Amy and do a quick screen share.
Yes, hi everyone. So I want to take a moment to remember 43rd PCO Tara Lee. This last week, the Seattle community was crushed to hear of her passing. Tara was a dedicated 43rd PCO, an activist who showed up year after year to do the work. It was important to her to ensure that the underrepresented communities she was a part of and an ally to were centered in the 43rd Democrats. Tara was a vocal, lifelong ally of the LGBTQ community who organized many advocacy events over the years. She was an incredible cook who loved to provide meals to movements over the years in Seattle. And despite significant hardships in her life, she showed up as a consistent progressive voice in Democratic Party process. Tara was well known as someone who welcomed marginalized people, often fleeing discrimination, into community, even providing a place to stay for young queer kids with no family. She was beloved, and our communities will not be the same without her. I'm going to share a GoFundMe in the comments because as Tara has been in the had been in the hospital for the last bit of time, last little while, her family was having to go through a move, and we want to really kind of support her partner through this time as well. So if you're able to spare a few bucks for the GoFundMe, that would be really helpful. And yeah, we're all gonna really miss Tara.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Any other good of the order? Yeah, Timothy.
Yeah, I just wanted there's been a lot of discussion about PCO and also rest in peace, Tara Lee. For Fremont Neighborhood Council is next Tuesday, and we actually have the Chirag from the PCA, or sorry, PCO program. Chirag from PCO will be doing a presentation, and we'll also have a rep from Jayapal's office, and a guy from Secretary of State, the also Secretary of State CEP program, which I think is civic engagement, which will discuss how laws are made and how to get laws passed. Yeah, so next Tuesday at the Door Lodge in Fremont.
Awesome, great. And Timothy, feel free to shoot me an email with that information. I can get it into our weekly email so that all of our members know about it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Last call for good of the order. Okay, with that, final reminder for everyone this weekend on Saturday, 43rd Town Hall. Tomorrow at Revolver Bar, starting at 6 o'clock, the 43rd Social. And then March 1st, Sunday, starting at 1:30, the Protect the Public. All of this will be reminded of, the one tomorrow you're not going to get a reminder about again. So, you've been warned. But all the rest of them, you'll get reminders about in upcoming emails. So you can check out for those for all of the specific detailed information. Thank you all for sticking around. Thanks for coming and engaging. And have a wonderful evening. With that, I'll call our meeting to a close.